Hey there YouTube, my name is Crazy Cat and welcome back to my channel. Now today I of course am starting off this video a little differently than I usually do by just showing you a blank canvas. I usually have my sketch down, but today I wanted to go through the whole process with you of what I'm doing. And I was scrolling through YouTube shorts and some of TikTok. Oh, you almost fell. That would have been bad. But and people were making their own fantasy maps with rice. So I thought I would make my own fantasy map. So, little short story. I actually created my own fantasy world way back in college. Of course, I'm talking like college was years ago. Actually, it kind of was years ago. But anyway, I created my own world. I created a few unique races, and then I have the stereotypical like D&D, Lord of the Rings type races, elves, dwarves, halflings, whatnot, and of course humans. So I figured I would make that world come to life, and maybe with this video I will not only like get started on making the story, but make the vision that I had more real. And I'm also going to share a few stories about my grandparents, because without my granddad, I probably wouldn't have really got into the Lord of the Rings saga like I did. I think I shared this story once before on my channel, but it's an older video, and since there's a lot of new people here, I might as well reintroduce my love for fantasy and fiction. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we, with the rice. First off, I'm going to start by saying that the video is mostly going to be about the story that I am telling and not so much about the art that I am making. However, with that being said, I'm going to point out that I did make a quote-unquote mistake, or happy accident if you will. So if you're actually going to paint your fantasy map with anything like watercolor or gouache, heck, even acrylic, make sure that your, ink that you're using is waterproof, because I didn't, and you're going to notice that later on that the ink's going to start running as soon as I start painting. Now, like I said, a happy accident happened, because even though it washed some of the details away, it's easy fix. Just go back over it again with a waterproof pen that time. And the ink actually mixing with the paint was kind of added an aged look to the landscape itself. So, like I said, a happy accident. No harm, no foul. But just keep that in mind when you make your map process. I'm also going to add here that I will be adding details to the map on another video, going into the details of the country, what races go where, the terrain, stuff like that. So that way I can give the creation that I have the detail that it deserves. So there you go. Now on with the story. So this all started back, I want to say, somewhere between November and December of 2003. The first 2 Lord of the Rings movies were out, and the third one was on its way, so I'm thinking that this actually got started in November. My young self actually was in middle school, and I was struggling to keep up with the reading, as you call it, academic rhetoric, like the requirements for like the reading skills you have at that age, which quite frankly, from my home state, the education system is very flawed, and there were things that I wish they had done differently. I hope they're doing differently now, but I'm dyslexic, and for a long time the state that I'm from did not recognize that as a learning disability. It is very much a learning disability. It's very hindering on not only how I see the information that I am being taught, but how I understand the information. Like, how did I perceive the information? Did I hold on to the details? That sort of thing. Also, it's very disencouraging for me, because I struggled reading out loud. I struggled reading in my head, and quite frankly, I just didn't want to read at that point. So because I wasn't reading outside of school, I wasn't getting the reading comprehension skills that I needed in school. That was basically it. You don't read outside of school, you don't read in school, you're not getting the skills that you need to progress, and there was concern that I was going to be held back again. I had already been held back before because of my learning disability, but I'm actually kind of thankful that I wasn't exactly mature enough to advance from first grade to second grade, so there's a blessing in disguise there, but I didn't want to be held back again in middle school. I'd already been made fun of enough because of being held back before, and now I'm being made fun of because I can't read. So a little dark time for me. Thankfully, I had a father who understood. My father's not diagnosed as being dyslexic, but from basic understanding from my testing to be diagnosed with dyslexia, we've pretty much determined that he also is dyslexic. And with that in mind, he knew what to do to get himself to read, so he figured he'd try it with me. And that was, the subject matters a lot. If you're not enjoying what you're reading, you're not going to read it, even if you don't struggle with things like dyslexia. So with that being said, my dad encouraged me to read The Hobbit. Probably not the best choice for a 6th grader, but hey, it got me in the door. Now, this is where my granddad, my poppy, what I called him, wanted to help, but he also wanted to have some bonding moments with me. And this is when I think DirecTV, like satellite TV, was fairly new. There were moments where they would have a featured movie that you could record for like a small fee. And when he was talking to Dad about books I was reading, what I was interested in, because he also wanted me to learn, Dad was talking about, The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Well, scrolling through his satellite guide, he noticed that The Lord of the Rings is going to be a featured film for the week, and the first 2 anyway, because the 3rd one was coming out the following month. And he got excited, and God bless him, this was the sweetest thing, one of the sweetest things he'd ever done. And he was like, hey, come on, let's watch this movie. So I'm excited. I'm like, okay, this goes with the book that I'm reading. It doesn't, but that's fine. So we get our snacks together, and I want you guys to picture this. I got a bowl of overly buttered popcorn, a quote-unquote chocolate milkshake that my granddad made because that was his favorite drink. We're sitting in his man cave. He built his own man cave. And we're going to watch this movie on a TV that was made in the 70s, and the title rolls across the screen and I don't recognize it. So this is when I committed the quote-unquote cardinal sin of watching a movie trilogy. I watched it out of order. It was Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, that doesn't sound like the book I'm reading, but I'm not going to give up watching a movie with my granddad. So we sit there and begin the 2-hour process of watching The Two Towers, which, quite honestly, probably got me hooked to fantasy just by itself. I have this knack for watching medieval battle scenes, good versus evil, all that sort of thing. And for those of you who don't know about The Two Towers, first of all, I recommend that you watch it, but spoiler alert, there's a really big battle scene. It's very dramatic. The music itself, the sounds you hear, the things that you see, they're really good at capturing you and keeping your attention. And honestly, sitting there and watching that whole movie, not understanding exactly what's happening, hooked me. Like, that brought me in. Of course, the movie ends. My dad comes in and he goes, hey, what y'all been up to? And I tell him we watched The Two Towers. And he looked at me funny and he goes, that's the second book out of Lord of the Rings. So, somewhat distraught happens. But my granddad sees that the Fellowship is going to be playing the next day. So he's like, hey, same time tomorrow, kiddo? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because, I want to know what's happening. So, my whole point in this is, if you're someone like me who struggles getting into reading, it's okay to watch the movie first. Yes, I know that infamous saying, the book is always better than the movie. Yeah, that's somewhat true, but at the same time, as someone like me, if I can build a memory watching the movie to get me to read the book, then I have succeeded in getting to know the book. I learned that day with my Poppy that if I can grow the desire from watching the movie to read the book, then I've won. I'm able to visualize it more, I'm able to understand it. So learn from me and my granddad, and sometimes just watch the movie first. Also, it's a good excuse to spend time with your loved one and build those memories that you cannot replace with anything else. Many reasons why to this day I watch The Lord of the Rings every year at Christmas. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and allowing me to share this story with you. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you want to. And as always, the products are listed down in the description box below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay nerdy, my friends.